Hi, Rudy. How are you?
I'm great. Thank you so much. Yourself?
I'm doing great as well. Thank you for saying yes to be interviewed today, Rudy. For our listeners, my name is Nicolette, and I am the creator for the podcast titled You're Worthless. Read that again. The juxtaposition of your very soul. So, Rudy, when I read your profile from Podmatch, I was kind of shocked and I was kind of excited because I myself started finding about how do I say this? Delving into spirituality when I hit early 30s as well. And right now I'm in the midst of it. So, what a what I think we're going to have so many parallels when we start our conversation. So, I cannot wait for that. So,
And
all right.
surprising that 30, but okay. Yeah, I was surprised.
Uh, Thank you. Thank you so much. Okay, so I would like to read a bit of your introduction for our listeners, and then we can get right into the conversation. So, hey everyone, we have Rudy Daniel here with us. Rudy is an entrepreneur in the mindfulness space, an author, and a philosopher. He is passionate about music, nature, and the mysteries of the universe. Co-founder of the Affirmate app, a powerful mindfulness tool that connects the mind and body in a short 90-second practice. He is also the author of Behind the Mask, Beyond the Mind. His journey of self exploration accelerated in his mid-30s, a point in life where he found himself questioning the deeper meaning of existence. At that juncture, he sensed a desire for more profound experiences, realizing that the routine of accumulating possessions and following the same patterns lacked depth and meaning. Yes, yes, yes. So many things that I can resonate with. Welcome, Rudy. Welcome. So, before we get right into the nitty-gritty of things, can you share with us what was it like growing up as a Rudy Daniel?
So, I guess the 80s were a time that people today, young people, would be, it would be difficult for them um, to understand how it was to grow up without phone or, YouTube or so. I was My childhood was mostly like till the age of 7 in the Soviet Union, in Armenia. So it was a very different kind of childhood. It was much, yeah, I would say simple. And during my childhood, I was amazed by the intensity of this experience of life. I was blown away by everyday reality, you might say. And my childhood was full of mystical experiences and things I've experienced that kind of um, propelled me to think about, you know, these kind of questions that today I find very profound and interesting. But back in my childhood, it was regular questions for me, like, what is this place? What am I doing here? It all looked very magical to me. Uh,
Mm.
so this was my early childhood, and when I grew up and during my adolescence, it faded away as I was more and more drawn to the mundane type of reality that we all experience during this time. So I would say it was simple and yet mysterious and beautiful.
Thank you. I think you put the groundwork there before we get the momentum going of our conversation. So, in the introduction, you mentioned there was a there was a part where you said you got tired of accumulating possessions and following that same pattern. So, what happened after you realized that the day-to-day routine lacked meaning and depth?
Well, that happened um, in my early 30s. Living for 30 years is a long period of time. I realized,
Hmm.
it's a long time. So in this time, until I hit 30, already have done many, many things in my life, different businesses, family, all the affairs that a grown person would usually go through. Maybe for me, it was a bit more accelerated because I'm kind of crazy with my approach to life, to get as much as I can. And I was growing tired of this mundane feeling of, okay, what's next? You know, what's next? Am I just growing old from here and that's it? And is it all is just a rat race? And I understood that each new possession that I got, although got me thrilled for a certain period of time, but after some time it became useless or worthless or meaningless. And the pursuit for the next big thing would always result in the same kind of, um, emotional satisfaction or unsatisfaction that I had. When it hit me hard at the early 30s, I I was drawn more and more to the conclusion that life is meaningless, and I developed a cynical approach to life, a harsh approach to life, and it got me more down. So this kind of pattern of thinking led me to the profound questions I had when I was a child again. So I began wondering, who am I and what am I doing here? And maybe it's more than what it seems. So this was um, the, the kind of pattern or flow that paved the way for me to become an author, a philosopher, and dealing with all this subject of mindfulness and meditation and all these teachings that I accumulated from mainly from the Eastern traditions, but also from modern Western philosophies and arts and science.
Yay. Why am I smiling? It's because I too went a maybe not 100% similar journey as yours, but then yes, I also went through a fair share of chasing certain things in life, and until life humbled me through my divorce and had to reevaluate myself, whether no, actually labeled myself as worthless, even though the company that I was in was really prestigious at one point. So that too made me think that who am I in this world? Why can't I get anything right? Why can't I get the love department right? Why can't I get my career right? And and soon enough I realized, because I was tying my self-worth into those things, those external things rather than what's inside. Uh, I'd, Let me see. It's about 4 years now and counting, working on the dark night of the soul. Also went into teachings of the Eastern Taoism when I read your profile, Taoism, anything, Ellen Watts, Young, quantum physics, you name it. So,
Sure.
I it and when you were saying when you were a kid, you were so amazed by how life is, but then society conditioned you to pursue this worldly things, and then it's funny how universe has a way for you to come back to the root, I would say, the circle. So yeah, I want to ask you, like, how do you define mindfulness then, and why should one care about mindfulness?
And that's a very good question. I would say that there's a lot of definitions today when people speak about mindfulness. Usually, people use the terms mindfulness and meditation, um, and in the same kind of meaning. But I would suggest that mindfulness is a rather simple thing to understand. It's coming from the word itself. It's being full of mind or being mindful of things and basically of life. So there's a lot of methods and there's a lot of practices, especially in the Eastern traditions, when it comes to different styles of meditation or different practices that potentially can lead you to understand greater things that are veiled by everyday reality that we perceive. But all of these are methods, and the backdrop of all these methods is mindfulness. So basically, when you're meditating, you're being present and full of mind. Yeah, maybe it's a terminology thing that get people confused, but just being here and now, it's the backdrop of every practice. So that's for me is mindfulness. And why should we care? So, we live our everyday reality. And as you mentioned yourself, you grew tired of what you had, what cards you had, what cards you had dealt, and you grew tired of that, although all the beauty and profoundness of your life was there in front of your eyes all of the time. So when you stepped into your journey, as you called it, with time you unfolded the profoundness of little things, and the way you did it is just by being more mindful. If you read a book, if you study a practice, especially in philosophical matters or this kind of teachings, um, it tries to emphasize the beauty and profoundness of the immediate moment, and this is mindfulness. So when you are more mindful to your usual everyday life, it naturally becomes more profound. The problem is that we are always looking for something outside of ourselves. As you mentioned, you were looking for some outside satisfaction beyond what you already had, and understood with time that this doesn't bring the satisfaction that you are looking for. But when you turn the immediate moment and you turn your attention towards the immediate moment with a mindful state, with mindful attention, you are then um, presented with the opportunity to explore life in a more meaningful and beautiful way. For example, the case that has happened for me, just one of the many cases. For many years, I've treated nature. When I say nature, I mean, trees, animals, flowers, etc. I was used to nature as some sort of background to my everyday reality. And when I became more mindful of the experience of life and I paid more attention to what's around me, I found the beauty of plants or the animals, and how they are um, part of this vast thing, this vast reality. And I grew more interested. And today, when I'm walking with my dog on the street, I stop, every few minutes to smell a flower or take a look at the tree, and it enhances my experience instead of just walking by them. So this is why mindfulness is so important. It gets you to the point when you find things in life you thought are meaningless to be profound and beautiful, and you can enrich your life with this simple practice of basically doing nothing. It doesn't
Hmm.
anything. You don't need to accumulate. You don't need to go and search for mindfulness outside. It's just something that you can do, just like that.
Yeah. Yeah. Because yeah, when you were explaining, I was already imagining the act of, if you look at a flower, you can actually feel the flower and look at it and then like be amazed at so say this is one flower and then you have the leaf next to it, right? It's different, and if you go deeper, it's like, even for me, like when you were saying it, you can almost you're using your senses at the same time. When you're touching it, you're looking at it, and you can also, if you go deeper, like how amazing it is for it to take in the to take in carbon dioxide and then releases the oxygen to us, right? And then really go back to the basics of what we learned before. For me personally, my experience being here, practicing to be here, to be present, to just be right here takes a lot of um not courage, willpower, because you cannot sometimes, before at least, you cannot help to think, but am I gonna be able to finish the work that I said I'm gonna finish, that my boss asked me to do? What about the, say for example, if okay, you're an app developer, right? An app developer, maybe not you, an app developer out there. Okay, what is the how are people perceiving the app in the now that it's released? Like those kind of thinking and worry. It took me a long time to just separate that and let it happen or unfold naturally, rather and just be in the moment. When you said doing nothing, like I got reminded of a phrase, dolce far niente, the joy of doing nothing. And before I thought doing nothing means being unproductive at all, but it's actually the most productive of you.
Yeah, exactly. It's a phrase that a lot of people confuse because people think that doing nothing, so they ought to go and do nothing. So this is actually an action as well, trying to do nothing.
Ah, oh,
So this,
that's a good one. You brought it a level deeper. Yes. The act that you actually want to go and do nothing.
yeah,
That's already a step there. Okay.
yeah, it's like trying not to desire. When you're trying not to desire, you're desiring not to desire. So it's a paradox. So
Whew.
what what
Yeah.
you mean by do nothing is more, like you smell something. So if you smell something, it's already there. So you can try and push it away. The same thing with thoughts. What I'm trying to say is when you talked about those nagging thoughts, when you have nagging thoughts, what about my project? What my boss gonna say about it, etc.
Mm-hmm.
These are thoughts. So I would say that the best way to deal with it is just let it happen. As you say, just treat it as clouds. Clouds pass through the sky, and when you see a cloud, you will not fight the cloud. You will not criticize the cloud for being in the sky. And at the same time, you understand that this cloud is temporary, it's finite, it will pass. So with the same understanding, you need to take a look at your thoughts, be a witness of your thoughts and say, okay, I have a nagging thought. Cool. You know, same way as I smell roses, right? Same way as I feel tired right now. All of these things are transient. And if you look at the nature of your mind, you will see that the nature of your mind, all the context of your mind is transient. So there's no need to cling to these kind of thoughts. And if a thought appears in your consciousness, in your awareness, the thing you can do is do nothing. Then that's it. Just accept it. Not push away, not trying to say this is not me, I'm such a spiritual person, that this kind of should not appear in my consciousness. It's like maybe it's yeah.
Yeah.
Just let it be another cloud, and maybe even enjoy it. It's like my mind is so clever. It kind of brings some fears that I must still have, and it's a great opportunity to try and work with it.
Yeah, there must be something that we need to work. Yes, that is so true because you think that you've done the work, you've done a lot of work, but when something happens or something is reflected back onto you and you're like, why do I have this kind of reaction? And that must mean that I have something within me that still needs um working. As a great way to not criticize yourself as well and just be kind, I think. Kind is even in, I don't think it's the right word, but accepting and just let
I
it
would
be.
say
Because I think
I would
when
say be open.
yeah,
Open
just,
the word here.
yeah, that's correct. Just be open. And I think I tried this with myself. If I'm open to something that I feel like I'm triggered even is a word that I don't really want to resonate with that. But if something comes up and it's like I'm aware, the moment I'm aware, if I just let it pass, somehow the universe or source or I don't know, just shows me the way on how to deal with it. You don't even have to try.
For sure, for sure. I mean, if you stay a student of life, this is a problem. This is a problem I encounter a lot with spiritual people or religious people. Um, Usually, people that go on a path to some sort of truth, trying to get to the end of the problem, right? They're trying
Mm-hmm.
to get the absolute truth or the one truth or master master their spirituality or master their religion. But this is a very potent trap because the truth can never be spoken. I mean, if we want to say the truth, we need to stay silent. It will be the best way to say the truth. So if you are
Oh.
stuck on being a teacher or stuck on being a preacher, then you are defending yourself. You are defending your position. And when a new information comes or a nagging thought comes or a new experience comes that might shatter your belief system that you have accumulated, you will be in fear or you will be in, filled with anger, trying to push away. And the best advice I would say to people that go on any journey is to stay a student. The nature of reality is transient, and so the information is transient. It's ever changing. So don't be stuck on one condition of I have realized this, so because I've realized this, I understand everything and nothing can surprise me. And, you know, this is a very potent trap. So stay a student of life and let these surprises be, nice surprises. Let
Mm-hmm.
surprise you with different elements of understanding. I can assure you there's so many planes of reality and understanding. It's just endlessly vast and there's always ways to explore it. It's never boring.
Thank you. I love that. Now, Rudy, why is setting an intention important when practicing mindfulness?
So basically, what is intention? Intention is very similar to attention. Where you place your attention or where you place your intention, if you take a look at your life experience, it usually manifests in the same direction. So let's say if you have destructive kind of thought patterns and you're absorbed with self-pity or you're loyal to your depression or to any kinds of those negative feelings, it will begin to manifest in your life because you're placing your attention there. A different kind of example is when you're looking for a new car, you will see that um, this specific car appears more and more in your reality and you see it everywhere because you're looking for it. Or if you're looking for some kind of dress, so you will see this dress more and more. So the way intention or attention works is you place your awareness somewhere and then reality presents the opportunities. So it's like going on a trip with a map and you're placing your intention in a specific place on the map and you say, I'm going there. So I may take a left turn or right turn, but in the end of the day, I want to get to this point. This is my intention. This is my lighthouse. So this is a good way to practice something positive because we're so conditioned to negative way of thinking that it's natural for us to drift away from our intentions. So while we are practicing mindfulness, practicing different kinds of um, new positive patterns, we need to set the intention in order to remember where we're going because it's so easy to forget. So we need this lighthouse. We need to be aware of what was our initial intention. And I think it's absolutely important. Absolutely important when you're practicing mindfulness or anything that you do in life. If you set yourself some sort of goal, it doesn't have to be something rigid or very serious, but just for the sake of understanding where you're going and not be so mixed up in the way, because anyway your mind and reality will mix things up on the way. So you need some sort of lighthouse to guide you through, and this is the role of intention.
Again, when you were saying, I remember this quote by Rumi, what you seek is seeking you.
Hmm.
So if you seek something, that
Yeah,
thing is seeking you as well.
that's a nice quote.
Yeah. Okay. You said here, people who started meditation and stopped. Why is it so hard or challenging for many people to meditate or practice mindfulness?
So when I'm talking about that, um, this kind of meditation, I'm usually referring to the West, because the West has very strange interpretation for meditation. What meditation means in the East and what meditation means in the West are two different things. The same thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yoga is a way of life in the East. There's the everyday yoga for different kind of choices one might have on his journey. And in the West, yoga means sport. So these are two.
Mm-hmm.
So usually, meditation in the West is practiced like some sort of a gym schedule. You go to the gym, and in the
Yeah.
same way you meditate. So um, people think that you need to sit in a certain position, close your eyes, and think of nothing for 10 minutes. So usually the recommendation is 10 minutes a day. When you read blogs and when you talk to people, like, do you meditate? And usually they say, yeah, like I meditate once a week. Um, and I ask, okay, so what is the meditation like? And usually what they say is, I just gonna demonstrate it. So you close your eyes and you're okay, like, okay, now I'm meditating. It's a bit hot in here. Okay, I'm meditating. My leg is itchy. What I'm gonna do about it? Did I ruin my meditation? My God, I'm supposed to meditate. And out of those 10 minutes, how long do you really meditate? It's more like you're in very close proximity with your mind because your eyes are closed and you're having all these thoughts. So this is not meditation. It's a way to get fatigued, and a lot of people do get fatigued from this kind of meditation. So I think this is the main reason why people get tired of meditation and don't do it correctly. The way that meditation is presented in the East is something altogether different. Meditation is the basic condition of our being. So that means peace, tranquility, and no mind, as the Chinese call it, wushin, no mind. So you can find a lot of examples of this kind of state in your day-to-day life without the preparation or without the intention of meditating. For example, I play the guitar, for example. So when I play the guitar, there's a profound moment in the act itself when I am absorbed in the musical piece and I no longer serve as the player or the active part of the creation, but I am the music. I'm really immersing myself in the music. So maybe music sounds a bit poetic and artistic to a lot of people. So let's use a more common example, something like cooking. So you can find yourself cooking, and in the process of cooking, you're so immersed in the process that you are free of thoughts. You're in the process, and this is pure meditation. This is the moment that you are here and now without any outer considerations of your situation, hot, cold, itchy. You're observed, you're immersed, and this is the true nature of meditation. And this is something one can replicate, um, not by rigid practices of sitting and closing your eyes and thinking of nothing, but by realizing that meditation is who you really are behind the veils of your everyday perception of life. So when you go further back and further back, you begin to realize, oh, this is my natural condition. I do not need to do something for it actively. If you want to attain meditation, it's like trying to steal your own watch because you already have it. You don't need to attain it once again. All you need to do is realize that behind all this drama that is going on, um, in terms of perception, in terms of the thinking mind behind all that, you are already in a meditative state. You just need to unveil it.
You should speak at TEDx.
Well,
Hopefully, people will get you on TEDx through this podcast. What are the connections between energies, frequencies, and mindfulness and happiness?
so let's start with the terminology because it's very important. We as people use language to communicate, and if language is properly explained and put into context, it's really easier to understand. If you go to YouTube, you will find a lot of these videos, right? Like healing frequencies or
Binaural beats,
binaural beats, or, listen to this track and you will get rich. And yeah,
formations.
yeah. So we need to we need to understand the terminology. Actually, it's very simple. It's quite simple. So you have frequent terminologies, vibration and frequency, right? You hear this a lot. Raise your vibration, or use this healing frequency. So it's a very straightforward thing. A vibration is a pattern of crest and troughs, like up and down on a wave, and the frequency is the measurement between them. So let's say I have an up wave and then a down and up. So the measurement between the two ups is the frequency. How frequent the wave repeats itself. So there's nothing really spiritual about it. It's very, it's the foundation of the universe. If you look at any pattern, you can look with your naked eyes and observe water, for example. You will see that the water behaves in a pattern of waves. This is where we take the phrase wave from water. And you can look at any pattern of the so-called material realm that we live in, and eventually, if you look hard enough with the magnifying glass, you will see that there is a pattern of what we call particles or subatomical particles of anything we can observe. It works in the way of waves. So we can look at light, we can look at water, we can look at wind, we can look at any element, and eventually we will find out that it's made of a vibration. Like you mentioned Alan Watts. Alan Watts said that everything is made of vibration, and a lot of scientists said that as well. There's a lot of famous quotes about it. I will not repeat. I think that by this time it's already well established in the scientific community that everything is made of vibration, essentially. So when we speak about vibrations as something related to mindfulness, it's easy to understand if we give an example of how vibrations impact us. Eventually, we are made of vibrations as well. As you know, 80% or so of our body is made of liquid or water, and it vibrates essentially like every other part of this universe. So when you listen to music, and obviously music is a vibration, it makes you feel good, right? Like if you listen to music you like, I mean, if you listen to some beautiful music you like. So the way it makes you feel good. It makes you feel like you want to dance, for example, or it brings up memory. So it has a profound effect on your awareness or your consciousness. This type of vibration enhances some sort of experience that you're having. In contrast to that, if you're on the road and there's a car behind you and they use the horn, uh, you know, beeping and beeping, so you will move your car, it's also a vibration, but this vibration has a different effect on your consciousness. It triggers feelings of maybe fear or anxiety, and in the same way of somebody screaming at you. It's a vibration, but it has a different effect on your consciousness. So what the ancient wisdom told us for thousands of years, for example, chanting Om or chanting different mantras, was to emphasize that certain types of vibrations are more compatible with our awareness, and it works beautifully, harmonically with our bodies, with our minds. So when we listen to certain types of vibrations, it can condition us to be in a different states of awareness or different states of consciousness that we are trying to achieve at a certain moment. At a party, you are trying to achieve a certain state of consciousness so you can dance. Otherwise, you wouldn't dance. And when you're chanting in the temple, you're trying to get in a certain state of consciousness to experience the profound moment of, whatever it is at the time you're doing it. In the same way, when you're practicing mindfulness, let's say sound healing, for example, you're trying to get in a certain state of consciousness or state of awareness. By the way, the consciousness and awareness, I use these words, they have the same meaning because
Interchangeably.
some people use consciousness, some use awareness. I'm using both, so it will be easier to understand. So when you're practicing mindfulness with the sound healing method, there are certain vibrations that work better for this state of consciousness or this state of awareness. And this is why it is important to embed certain vibrations, specific vibrations in mindfulness practices that are related to sound. So I would say that there is no music that can make you rich. There is no frequency that can, open your third eye or whatever the YouTube video suggests. But if you look at this seriously from the point of view of what the teachings are trying to say and what everyday life experience suggests, which is the most important anchor of any journey, what your self-evident experience suggests, you can easily understand that this has a profound impact on the practice.
Wow. Okay, thank you. I'm going to let that marinate for our listeners. Now, Rudy, why a 90-second mindfulness practice could be as or even more efficient than longer sessions?
So I guess that you're referring to the app I
Affirmate app.
founded,
Yes.
the Affirmate, and we launched in May. It's a 90-second practice of mindfulness, which may sound a bit too quick.
Counterintuitive
Or,
to when you were saying, yeah, you were
yeah.
saying like, okay, I'm meditating 10 minutes, but why is my hand itchy?
Exactly. So I can bring the attention of the listeners, the viewers, to the little joke we did before with the 10-minute meditation. So the idea of here and now is not related to time, really. So the idea of here and now or being in a meditative state is where time doesn't exist, where time disappears. So there is no time frame for meditation. If you can be in a profound meditation for 1 second, it would feel like you have been there all day. So it's not about the quantity, it's not a gym, it's about the quality. So what we did with the 90-second practice is not just the typical practice of close your eyes and try to be, here for 90 seconds, but we did something that combines visual and auditory experience. We call it a multisensory mindfulness experience. And you are totally absorbed in those 90 seconds. And we're trying to compel you to be absorbed in the experience, to be fully immersed in the experience. And 90 seconds is a lot of time to be absorbed in the experience. If you fully immerse in the 90-second practice, you will feel like, you're totally satisfied. And there is no need to do it longer. In fact, we feel from our conversation with people while we were developing the app of what made you leave meditation, the fatigue of trying to do that for 5 or 10 minutes a day was the main reason. It's very difficult. It's very difficult to not think of nothing, try not to think of anything. So this is where people get mixed up and confused and leave it. And we believe that if you do it good enough, if you make the experience found, 90 seconds is all you need. So it's not about the quantity, it's about the quality.
Yeah, I'm a big believer of that. So how long is your mindfulness practice?
How long is the mindfulness practice?
Your mindfulness practice.
To be honest, I'm doing like it's very fun for me. I'm doing the mindfulness practice that me and my co-founder developed. So it's 90 seconds a day that is enough for me. But I feel like my life is a mindfulness practice. I don't practice it anymore.
It's your way of being.
It's my reality. I just find everything mysterious and beautiful, and the goods and the bads that comes in this journey. They're here to enrich, here to teach, here to um, make us grow and evolve. And it's beautiful. There is no end game to it, and I'm enjoying every moment. So in the end of the day, when you're practicing mindfulness, the idea is not to create some sort of a rigid practice that you need to conduct every day. And if not, you will lose your beautiful shape. Like if you go to the gym and you don't go for a year, your body begins to go back to its natural state and you
Mhm.
lose some of your muscles. But it's not the same way with the mind. The idea of practicing mindfulness is to release yourself from this practice. It should be like like a diet and not a medicine. You should not treat mindfulness as a medicine. Take 2 pills of mindfulness every day and you're good for life. You should integrate it to your life. And when I say you should, it's not like something that you need to do. You need to bother yourself about, like, get serious with mindfulness. I need to get serious with mindfulness. No, it's something that happens on its own accord when
Yeah.
you're practicing it with time. As you said, we are conditioned by society, and no one should be surprised that it doesn't come that naturally or that easy when you hit 30 or 40 or even 50 and you try to integrate these profound understandings into your life, that it should transform your life altogether in 2 weeks. It's not
Hmm.
50. Our minds are way too complicated for that. And this is why we need time, and we need to go with it slowly until it fully integrates into our life and we can hopefully enjoy it together.
I love that. It could even be like washing your dishes or feeding your cat or your dog, right?
Okay. Yeah.
Anything, anything. So, Rudy, tell us about your book and who should read it and why.
I mean, it would be my best interest to say that everybody should read it, right?
Oh, yes. Yes, you want as many people. You want the world to read it.
Yeah, it will certainly be nice, but no, no. The book is actually some kind of documentation of my life journey. And I wrote this book mainly to get my thoughts and all these courses I made with myself sitting alone in the balcony, on the balcony or in the forest in nature and thinking about life. It was just too much information to try and convey in one conversation when I tried to share it with others. So I understood that in order to get these thoughts out there, I need to write. And this is what I did. I kind of documented my experience from childhood um, to the current moment in my life in terms of my mental development more than my physical development, more my mental development and how it shaped my reality. And it's more of a conversational book between me and the reader where I present questions and the reader can think about them. And then I discuss them in more depth. Some may find it, very, very pivotal for them because the questions I raised in the book are um, very
Thoughts
intimidating.
provoking.
For many people, they don't want to answer these
Face that.
questions because it might shatter their perception of reality. But um, I did it. So if you are curious about exploring the nature of reality through my eyes, it's a book you can read. It's not a long book, maybe 2 hours read or so. And it's somewhere between a personal journal to a philosophical discourse. And if you like this kind of conversations, then it's for you. You can find it on Amazon or different audiobooks platforms. It's available in both.
Thank you. Thank you for that. So, Rudy, what is next for you?
So what is next for me? I wish I would know. Maybe I could go
Oh
to
yeah, I'm talking to a philosopher. I forgot. You would say I am where I am need to be.
yeah, but there's a many planes of reality, and one of the planes of reality is that we need to address the future as if it like it's existing. Like
Mhm.
if the future is really there. I mean, from a philosophical point of view, obviously, as you laughed about it, I can say I only have this moment, but we did develop language so we can communicate easily about things we experience, right? So I can talk about what's next for me in this regard. So I believe that what's next for me is inspiring people with Affirmate. I really love the idea of involving as much people as I can into mindfulness, because in the end of the day, if you live a more mindful life, you're not just benefiting on your own, but you're bringing value to your immediate surroundings and they impact their surroundings. So in the end of the day, if we can share this idea of mindful living with many people, eventually our world can turn into a much easier and I would suggest more fun place, more kind place and open instead of being anxious, depressed, angry kind of world we experience, unfortunately, in this period of our life. So I believe that this is what next for me, and if I can reach as much people as I can, so this is my value in the universe, and I hope that people will find it something that can bring value to their lives. This is my hope and aspiration for the future.
Mm, yeah.
I
Okay.
would laugh to you laugh all the time. It's a good sign. You're enjoying your life.
Yes, I am. I have. Yeah, I have. How to say? There was a guest the other day, I think 2 days back, and she was like, "Hmm, seems like you've done the work." Yeah, still doing, but yeah. So, Rudy, I'm gonna pivot to a self-worth question because my podcast talks a lot about self-worth. Although this, what you've mentioned, has already transcend 3D planes, but we're gonna bring it back to self-discovery. But it often goes back to something within us. So, the question for you: self-discovery often involves confronting our fears and vulnerabilities. Now, what are your thoughts on this? And how can one overcome it?
Yeah, that's a beautiful question, and I think that you might find help with the Western philosophy here, with the works of Carl Jung. So basically, each of us, we need to acknowledge that we have a dark side in us as well as a light side. So we live in a world that is made of dualities, of differences, um, differences that just appear different, but in essence, they're one. So in order to get with it and understand this side of yourself, you must do the work and explore yourself from within. What is the dark side within you? What are the things you dislike about yourself, at least now? And really work with them, really see them, observe them, and instead of pushing them away, which is a very bad idea, it's like people saying we need to overcome our ego. Like, where would you put your ego, or where would you put your anger? Is there a place outside of your consciousness? Obviously, there isn't. So if you're trying to push that aside, eventually what you're doing is digging a deeper hole in your subconscious mind and trying to push everything that you don't like inside that hole. But lo and behold, it doesn't work because the mind is much more sophisticated than that. And in the first opportunity, with the first trigger, as you mentioned, it will rise to the surface and will be much worse than it was initially. So
Mm-hmm.
the way Carl Jung talks about it, and I encourage people to read his work, is to integrate this monster, this dark side. You might give it a different name, but you must integrate it with yourself, be open to it, to understand that this is also part of you. And if you are successful in this kind of pursuit, eventually you will become a whole and realized human being. And the human being that can look at himself and say, yeah, I do have this dark side, I do have this monster, but I have integrated it into myself completely. This person or this human is much more valuable and whole in society instead of the person who pushes that aside. It's a very dangerous person. So as a person that pushes it aside, it might come up one day and destroy everything that he's built until now. And we can see it a lot in people that are following the moral codes or so-called moral codes that they invent. And in the end of the day, those moral codes turn into awful wars. You can see it in history where religions eventually followed the light, now followed God or followed the word and all the beautiful things that each religion in its base has to offer. But with time, what happens? It developed to a very dark side in the name of morality, in the name of God. So they pushed aside the devil, but the devil came back through the back door. And then, a lot of violence,
Yeah.
a lot of we know history. So this is why in self-discovery you should not try to discover only your beautiful light side, but you should also explore your monster within and integrate it.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Duality. What is your heart's greatest wish?
I feel so satisfied with life. So I feel like it's already has been fulfilled. Every experience that I have is a beautiful experience, regardless of its content.
Well said. I love that. Do you have a mantra that you live by?
Om Mani Padme Hum.
Wow, nobody has said that. But yes, I love that.
Well, you
Mm-hmm.
know what it means.
Mm-hmm.
Praise to the jewel inside the lotus flower. So yeah, it's a mantra I love because it reminds me that eventually when you are praying to yourself. So
Mm.
it's kind of a good practice that I love to do.
You're praying to yourself because it is all within you.
Exactly.
Not a lot of people can understand that, but because that might open up another can of worms. Like, I believe God is you and you are God, but some people might not be able to accept that narrative. So, but thank you.
I mean, in the Eastern culture, it's very straightforward, right? Like if you say these kind of things, it's well acceptable by society. But in
Mm-hmm.
the Western world, might come across as blasphemy or
Yeah.
something that is uh, someone should not say that. It's just a cultural difference in understanding, and this is why I encourage people to go and study the Eastern traditions, the theology, mythology, and the teachings, because it's very, very deep and profound, and it finds place in the heart of Westerns. in the past 40 years or so, maybe even more, maybe, from the 60s, it has been increasing, and you can see that mindfulness is now a growing vector in now in Europe, in the United States, in the Western world. It has a reason, and the reason is that people resonate with this kind of understanding, with this kind of teaching. And I would suggest that it will take time, but eventually the West will be more, it will accept this kind of teaching more and more.
Mm-hmm. The world is, as a collective, is waking up slowly. That's what I believe.
Hopefully.
Hopefully. Is there anything that keeps you up at night, or do you sleep well?
I love the night. It's a time when I love to be with myself, with my thoughts or with my emotions. So the night keeps me from sleep because I love the night. When I do go to sleep, I sleep. I have a lot of dreams. I dream every night, and usually it's very vivid dreams.
Lucid.
Sometimes lucid, yeah. And, it's kind of very intriguing to dream, but yeah, that's a whole different conversation there.
Yeah, that's another episode.
Yeah.
So, Rudy, if you could create a quote right now for you to leave to the audience listening and the world as your legacy, what would it be?
So I'll be cheating a bit, and I'll use a quote that we use in Affirmate in our app, and it's a quote I love. It's an affirmation I do every morning. I approach each day with an attitude of gratitude. And I think that if people will approach each day with an attitude of gratitude, their life would slowly but surely transform.
I felt that. And the other one was Om Mani Padme.
Oh, that's my mantra.
Yes, your mantra. Yes. So, how can people reach out to you?
Well, you can go to our website at affirmate.app, and you can use the contact form. Me and my co-founder Roy we are very engaged with the users, and we want to talk to you, and we want to hear your opinions about the app and how we can improve it, and how we can deliver our value in a better way to you. So you can reach out there, or you can go to my personal IG. I'll be happy to leave you some links, and you can share with the audience. I think it would be a great way. But yeah, I'm not that hard to find, just reach out.
Okay. All right. And there you have it, guys. You heard it from the person himself, Rudy Daniel. Before we close off, Rudy, I'd like to thank you personally for the work that you're doing for the world and for advancing every step of the way, despite the challenges, creating trails for those that will come after you. For our listeners, this has been that one podcast with that controversial name, You're Worthless. Read that again, the juxtaposition of your very soul. Now, if you find yourself thinking that you are worthless, you're probably not alone. But more importantly, ask yourself a level deeper. If I'm worthless, then why the heck am I here? It is because your soul have chosen to be here energetically all the way from the ethers, and for that reason itself, you are worthy and you are enough. This has been Rudy Daniel, your guest of the day, and Nick Niaras, your host, signing off. Thank you very much, Rudy, for your time.
Thank you so much, Nick. It was a beautiful conversation. Thank you.
Thank you.